Hey guys, Jake back here again with another video. What I'm going to do today is go over my sleep system that I have been using and what I currently am using all summer. That is to teach classes, just camp in the woods, what have you. I posted a picture the other day on my Instagram of my sleeping setup at this past weekend's intermediate class and what I was sleeping in while we were staying out with the students. And I had a ton of DMs, a ton of comments and messages asking what sleep system was that I used. And I'll put the picture up so you guys can see it. But what sleep system was it that I used? And I use a couple of different things in the summertime. But what I figured we do today is just kind of go over just a real quick video on what I'm currently using and kind of my reasoning behind using it, especially in the summertime. I want you to keep in mind that I'm not a huge hammock guy. I like hammocks. I will use them. I don't have any problems with them, but I prefer personally to sleep on the ground. But in the summertime here in Ohio, it's so freaking humid and it's so hot during the day, and the mosquitoes are just relentless. So I was looking for something that was small and compact that I could carry that wouldn't take up my entire teaching bag or my kit, but also gave me the protection that I needed from mosquitoes and things like that at nighttime, because I just get ate up with it. Yes, I use permethrin on my clothing. Yes, I use bug spray, all that good stuff. None of it seems to work for me. So I wanted something that gave me a little bit more protection. Sorry, I'm sweating all over the place because it's hotter than crap out here right now. So I got this item, the main focus on this video, yes, I'm going to go over some of my sleeping stuff and all that good stuff. But the main focus is really the shelter component as far as the cover and the bivvy that I'm going to go over. I got this bivvy on a trade. These are not easy to find. I've looked for them for the past couple weeks since I've got this one. I found one of them and the guy wanted $600 for it. So these are really, really hard to find. They're no longer made, but they are absolutely sweet and I am completely sold on it. So let me move the camera around and I'll show you guys kind of what I use in the summertime as far as sleep equipment. Then we'll start rolling through the bivvy. I'll show you guys how to set that up and what it looks like. Okay, so looking at the sleeping setup that I have here, or the different types of systems that I kind of go through out in the summertime. First off, we have just a simple sleeping pad. This one is a Climate Neo Air, or sorry, this is not a Climate, it's a Thermarest Neo Air. It still has a little bit of air left in it from the last time I used it, so that's why it's not super tight and rolled up. So that's what I use for my pad when I'm sleeping on the ground. Now again, I don't like to sleep on the ground in the summertime unless I have something like a tent or a bug net, because I do get ate up so much with mosquitoes. So for my shelter, this is a Brigade Quartermaster's Bivvy. Okay, this is big enough for me and then my pack, and that's pretty much it. This is not a two-person tent. This is a very low profile. This would be a really good stealth camping type tent, but this is what I choose to use. Now, depending on the weather, I typically will have something like this in my vehicle, but most of the time, especially if I'm using my Go Ruck at classes or whatever, I use some type of poncho liner or wooby, because it can roll up, it could pack down nice and flat if I absolutely needed it to. And it's just enough to kind of keep the chill off of you. In the summertime here, you're getting into the low 70s, high 60s at night. So it's not super, super cold. So I don't need something like a heavy duty sleeping bag or an overquill. And then for this one, this is for a little bit colder weather. It comes in a stuff sack, but I just keep it in this dry bag. I can get it packed down smaller if I want to. This right here is a EcoTat sleeping bag. Okay, these right here are very, very hard to find. They're not easy to get a hold of. So, EcoTat, this is actually made by Wiggies, but this is a synthetic bag. This is not a down bag. So I'm able to store it away and keep it packed up, stored away if I want to, without really damaging the amount of loft and things like that it has. So, but this right here can be used for, number one, just a blanket, just like the poncho liner. It can also be used as a makeshift poncho liner because it has a place right here in the middle where you can put it on and put your head through. And then it can also be zipped up into a sleeping bag, and on the end of it, it has a drawstring to to where you can draw it up, where you can sleep with your boots on if you want to inside of it. But for the most part, I use it like a blanket, okay? But these, like I said, these are hard to find. I found a few of these on eBay, brand new, still in the original packaging, for about 300 bucks a piece. And those are the only ones that I've ever been able to find for about the past 5 or 6 years. So, but this right here is for, it's gonna get a little bit colder, a little bit more chilly, and I want a little bit more, or a little bit extra insulation. I'll use something like this right here. And if it was real cold, I could combine this with the poncho liner and or my hammock gear over quilt. So I'll just kind of stuff that down in here and get it out of the way. Again, this comes with its own stuff sack, so you don't have to worry about having a bag for it. If you, of course, if you can find them brand new. But this one right here was still in the original packaging, so it still had the original stuff sack, everything. So it's definitely worth the money in my opinion. That's about as far as I'm gonna go with that. So, but usually in the summertime, it's gonna be this right here. This rolls up nice and small. It rolls up smaller than this. And this right here is super lightweight, nice and small. This thing probably weighs 2 pounds if I had to guess. And again, these Brigade Quartermaster Bivvies are very, very hard to find. I have found one since I've traded for this one. And that guy wanted 600 bucks for one of these. So these are very hard to find, and when you do find them, they're very expensive. But I got this one on a trade. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set this up so I can show you guys what this thing looks like. Okay, so this is, like I said, an entire shelter system inside of here. It's very lightweight. I don't have to worry about carrying tarps or anything like that. I can just set this thing up and get 100% full coverage and go to bed. So inside of here, I keep some tent stakes. This comes with some poles for the ends. Slide it out. I got some tent stakes down in this bag. And this is what you're looking at, is this right here. Again, this thing is nice because at the end of the day, when I'm just dog tired at classes, I'm able to just set this thing up and go to bed. I don't have to worry about messing with tarps or knots or anything like that. Literally just stick the poles in it, stake it out, and go to sleep. Really big enough. This is only a one-person tent, so just roll it out. See, the bottom of it is a little bit dirtier than the top of it because the bottom of it has been on the ground, obviously. It's a used tent. Roll it out just like that. This right here is the foot end. This up here is the head end. We'll go ahead and kind of get this bad boy laid out here and get her staked out. Okay, so it has loops on each side. Now, all of them, I'm sorry, not all of them, just the back one towards the foot end is fully adjustable. This one right here is a fixed loop. So I'll just run a tent stake in the ground. Just like that. So I get that one situated in there. And on this end, it has a sleeve that goes across the top that you run your poles through. So you just have to find the end of that sleeve right there. What I do is I'll put 2 of these poles together, just like this, and then just start to run it through until I need to add another pole. You kind of see it start to take some shape. Now on the sides here, it has a small grommet or a stakeout point where you just snap that in there just like that. Make sure it's good and secure. You come over here. Sometimes it gets bunched up on the end right here, so you've got to kind of work around that. like that. You can see it needs one more on the other end, the last one. It has that little nipple right there. Plug it in just like that. And this is gonna, same thing on this side. This is also gonna have a place to put your poles through, just like that. Now that is the head end of this bivvy. So it's the same way for the foot end of this bivvy. Just find your sleeve. This end only takes 4 poles. Again, sometimes it gets caught in the material. There you go. Like that. Go ahead and stick this end up. Put our other end in right here. You see whenever we go to push it through, there you go, just like that, snaps in, and there's your foot end. Now, on this end, opposite of the head end, obviously, this has an adjustable loop. So you can stake this thing out, and if you need to get a little bit tighter, you can come through and adjust it, which I think is pretty neat. So we'll go ahead and get this bad boy staked out, and I'll show you guys what it looks like whenever it's all set up. The loops that we put the poles in, we would stake those loops out to make sure these poles don't slide up and down all over the place while we're getting in it. As you can see, it gives you a pretty good sizable shelter, especially something that's a quick setup, doesn't take any time at all. I'm kind of pushing the limits of it. I am almost 6'4". I'm right around 275. I've been losing weight. And I fit in here with a small bag perfect, right? I couldn't get anything else in there with that. If I did, it's pretty snug. Now, one thing I will say about this setup, in the summertime here in Ohio, it's freaking hot, okay? You're looking at 90, 95 degree days with 100% humidity, okay? It is just absolutely, it feels like a jungle here. Everyone in the deep south is always like, oh, experience this deep south heat, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I've ever experienced humidity like I have here or in Florida. So the humidity here is just a killer. So with that, at the end of the day, and when it's still super humid and you're going to bed, I keep a small battery powered fan to put up on the head end of this thing, because I'll show you guys that I'll show you guys the inside in just a second. If I put it on the head end of this thing, that way I can get some airflow in it, right? That's the downfall of something like this, is that the airflow is pretty much zero for the most part. So a small battery powered fan that doesn't hardly weigh anything, you can put it in your bag and it's powered by double A's, works perfect. Mine that I have is powered by double A's and or a brick. So I always have a brick on me. So I just plug it into my brick and it gets that air circulating in there. I've slept in this thing for a couple of classes now. I really, really like it. It keeps the mosquitoes completely away from me. You know, a big problem that I have at night is I get tore up by mosquitoes. So I haven't had any problems while using this. Now, with this shelter, this is kind of almost like, imagine the military ponchos on the bottom, but it's a lot thicker. It's probably 3 times as thick as the military poncho, and it has but it has that same coating on it. On the top here, it is the Gore-Tex that you buy in like the military Gore-Tex jackets, okay? So that's one thing I really like about this. And again, these things are really, really hard to find, but if you can find one, good on you, but you're going to have to fork out the money for it. Like I said, I found one of these after I received this one for 600 bucks. So, and I'm not going to pay that for something like this, but this thing works out really well. As you can see, Down here on the bottom, you can always just stake this out to widen it out if you wanted to, just like that. This is a perfect shelter system if you're, say, on a hunting trip for a couple of days or something like that. You just need something small and lightweight because you're going to be packing deer out of there or whatever. This would be perfect. And or stealth camping, because this is a very low profile shelter. You put it up here in these weeds somewhere, no one will ever. Here's the head end of the shelter. Has a rain fly right here, so you can just flip back, and then of course it has the bug net, and the inside's a little dirty because I slept in this just last week, but I put my fan up in here, and then it just blows that air all across my whole body and just keeps circulating in there. I'll show you guys a peek on the inside, but on the side here, I'll give you guys a better look in just a second. You can see it right there. That is some type of hole. If I had to guess, it was a hole for someone to stick their rifle out of, just in case someone came walking up on them. That's the only thing that I could think of that hole being useful for. So if someone in the comments has used one of these or has one and knows what that is, please let me know. But that's what I could come up with, because like I said, these used to be military issue. So, but I can either stick my fan in that hole to blow the cold air in on me, or I can just stick it up there on the top and leave this bad boy, not close this, but just zip this up and be good to go. Really bad weather comes in, I'll just zip that up and then I'll be totally fine. The last night of this past intermediate class, I slept in this, and it came just a dumping the freaking rain in the middle of the night, and I was just totally fine. Pull you off of the tripod here, so excuse me for that. But see, here's a good look from the inside. There's that door type thing I was telling you guys about. And there's where I stick my fan. But this is perfect for just one person and their equipment. But that's about all you're going to get in here is that. So this is that, I call it a door gunner thing, but I don't actually know what it is. But I tied a knot in it. But this actually has a mosquito net behind it, but you're able to open it up and it goes right into the tent. So I don't know if it's for someone to stick their head out of, or if it is, you know, someone, just in case someone comes walking up on them, they can stick their rifle out of there and being able to aim. I'm Jake Trent. I appreciate you joining me for this real quick video on my summertime sleeping setup that I use when I'm at classes or teaching, or just out in the woods doing whatever I want, hanging out, camping. So again, this is what I'm choosing to roll with this summer. I think it's important for anyone to test out different shelter systems to see what works best for them. You should do that with all of your equipment to find out what works best for you. And so far, this is my favorite thing that I've found for summertime. I'm not a huge hammock guy. I do like hammocks. I will use hammocks, but I prefer personally to sleep on the ground. Well, my name is Jake Trent. I appreciate you guys joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Buckeye_Bushcraft. We just passed 30,000 followers on Instagram, and I am now verified on Instagram, so woohoo. But if you like any of the gear that I use in any of my videos, check out the links below. It'll take you to my Self-Reliance Outfitters influencer page. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. See you in the next one.